but 0-0 it would finish. That is Arsenal's 100% record at home being brought to an end by Newcastle, but they do still manage to come away with a point from this one. It would have been a 10-point lead at the top of the table had they won it. They are still at the top of the table, but obviously a game ahead of Manchester City now. Still leading up there, but dropping points, and there'll be a lot to discuss with that game as we do now welcome in Frank Leboeuf and Mark Ogden as well, who did see the game today. Craig, I will start with you, though. Yeah. Can Arsenal feel aggrieved not to have been given that 60th minute penalty?
I think so. Certainly, I mean, we saw the handball there, but we didn't. Both Shaq and I didn't think that was a penalty. What the criteria is for a penalty kick, because it's the old adage anywhere else on the field, and that's a clear free kick. It's an infringement. So, yeah, I think Arsenal can feel aggrieved about that. Quick Arteta watch. He's still a pain in the butt on the side. Never stops. Whether that's going to be detrimental to Arsenal and the players as the season goes on, as everybody gets hyped up, and, you know, that feeling of the pressure and the anxiety, and you look round and he's bobbing about as he is in the touchline, we shall see. But I think Arsenal, the one word for them, for me, today was frustrated. I think Newcastle frustrated them, and not a disaster for both sides, but I think they looked like a frustrated side today when that game finished.
I think to that point, Arsenal have to be the more aggrieved of the two, for obvious reasons, and not just because of the penalty or no penalty call. Saying that, as I'm watching the game, and I'm a little bit biased in case you don't know, I'm thinking Pope does enough just to save Billings' blushes. But then every single replay I see, I'm like, goodness me, Newcastle got away with one there. But to be honest, Odegaard had a couple opportunities, one very early on, that had he had his shooting boots on and scored and forced Newcastle out to be more attack-minded, who knows which way this game would have gone. So there were a couple of opportunities that I thought Arsenal could have done better with. But at the same time, you then have to give Newcastle some credit for how well they defended. Can't give them much credit for any attacking because I didn't see an awful lot of that. Given the size of Newcastle defensively, every time Arsenal got the ball wide, all they could do is try to sling it along the floor, and Newcastle found themselves in really good positions just to tidy those up. So that was very frustrating for Arsenal. If you're Newcastle, you come away from this with a point, thinking, I'm really happy with this point. I'm not so sure if I deserve it, but going away to the league leaders, that's a point well earned.
Mark, you were at the game tonight. Could you feel that frustration? Was there a tension in the stadium?
It wasn't so much in the stadium. I thought the atmosphere was quite good at the beginning, but I think it all turned after about half an hour when Arteta started to lose his temper, and it was like watching Pep Guardiola at his worst and Jose Mourinho at his worst. This kind of almost snarling away at the official. It was in the face of the fourth official at one point, and that transmitted to the players. They picked up 3 pretty quick bookings, and at that point you could see that they were getting frustrated by not being able to break Newcastle down, and then it transmitted to the stadium. So it was a strange night for Arsenal. I felt that they showed a bit of inexperience tonight, that didn't quite know how to deal with a team that was basically set up to stop them play. And Arteta showed his inexperience as well, because it's only January. You know, we haven't even got to the point of the season where it gets tense yet, and it gets edgy and it gets nervous. We've got 5 months to go. And the stadium, the Emirates, the fans are desperate for success. And what will happen is that frustration will transmit itself to the players. And this stadium will become a really tense and edgy and nervous stadium in the weeks and months to come. So the way that Arteta reacted tonight and the way it transmitted to the team is not a good sign. I mean, they've still got a great, 8-point lead, and Man City have got to go to Chelsea and win on Thursday, which is going to be tricky because City aren't playing particularly great, and Chelsea, who knows. So, you know, Arsenal have still got a very good lead, but I saw signs tonight that it's going to be tough in the next few weeks because they do lack a bit of experience in key areas, and it was all basically left to Saka and Martinelli to make a difference, and they're just young kids on the wing, really.
Do you agree with that, Frank, that there are signs that there could be problems ahead for Arsenal?
I wouldn't go that far, you know. It's always hard to talk when you're the last, you know, and especially when you agree with the guys, but I think Arsenal could be disappointed with only a point because they had like 3-4 chances to score. But it can happen, you know, and they did what they had to do. I think credit to Newcastle where, you know, we didn't see Martinelli a lot. We didn't see Odegaard and Partey a lot as well. And it was hard to cope with the situation. Yes, Arteta got very nervous, and I think he has to take care of his health and his heart. You know, if he carries on like that, he's going to be in danger. But otherwise, you know, I think Arsenal did everything they had they was kind of misfortunate at some point, you know, especially with Gabriel in the first half header and Martinelli's one in the second half, where they could have scored a goal and it would have been a different result. So yes, there was a penalty for them on top of them. So yeah, they can be disappointed, but if because of that game and of that draw, everything is back to the past, or everything becomes a question mark, I think it wouldn't be fair. I think they are in a good mood, and they have to carry on working like that, and everything will go right. Sorry.
I think it tells you everything you need to know, though, about this Arsenal side, that Newcastle approached the game in the manner in which they did, because Newcastle really have been, certainly in the last 6 months, and certainly in the last 3 or 4 months, but generally during the calendar year, where they've picked up so many points, or last year, forgetting we're in 2023, 2022 rolling into this new year, they've played front foot football. You know, they've got at teams even away from home. They've got at teams who shot at Leicester. OK, it's a different kettle of fish, but they went to Leicester, blew them away in the first 45 minutes. Here we saw a very more pragmatic approach, and I think that is down to the fact that Arsenal are, obviously, and have been such a threat with those players that Mark mentioned, Martinelli, Saka, Odegaard and even Nketiah coming in. But today we saw the other side of Newcastle. Yeah, there was the frustration from the time wasting and maybe 1 or 2 Newcastle players going down to get treatment, and Arsenal were the players were getting frustrated, the manager was getting frustrated, as Oggy said, and it came through to the crowd. But their success in getting a point was built on one of the things that they addressed straight away when the ownership changed and Eddie Howe came in, was the back line. You know, Byrne, Schär, Botman, Pope, Trippier, absolutely rock solid at the back, want to defend, big, strong defenders who can also pass the ball a bit. And they were a hard team to beat today. And that was a complete mindset change from how they have been playing recently. And so, as Oggy was saying, it's something Arsenal are going to have to deal with. We're in January. There's lots of big games to come for them. Yes, everyone's a big one for them because of the pressure, but that's only going to intensify, and they're going to get this more and more as the season gets deeper. Teams trying to be hard to beat.
To that point, though, I think, listen, I sat here a couple of days ago and said I thought Arsenal continued to prove me wrong in so many things that I've been saying about them all season long. And this could be another big moment for Arsenal and for Arteta, because on the face of it, you are disappointed, 2 points dropped, you see how Newcastle defend against you, but it's how you spin this. And we're talking about Arteta's and Arsenal's inexperience. But you just come up against the team who are third in the table, at home. You have 2/3 of the possession. You have a couple of standout players who have had better days, is the best way to put it. And you were the only team in the game, in all honesty. Now, what do you say to your team after that? And how do you spin that in talking to your team tomorrow at the training ground? It's just, listen, we dropped 2 points, but we take that on the chin. You know, it's no reason to panic. And as long as Arteta is able to do that, get that message across, get Arsenal to continue, I don't want to say back to playing their best football, because it was damn good today. They just came up against a very resolute Arsenal. Play a game. Your game has got you this far. This is just a little knock on the chin. No big deal. We could cope with that.
Mark, what did it tell us about Newcastle then today? Did it tell us that they will be staying in the top 4 come the end of the season? They've just gone away to the leaders and come away with a point and still a clean sheet.
Yeah, 11 goals conceded all season, and they've only lost 1 game. And I was at that game, it was at Anfield, it was a very, very late goal, so they're very hard to beat. And I think, you know, there's a bit of a gap building there between the top 4 and the rest. And I think, you know, I do think Newcastle, I do think Liverpool and Tottenham, certainly Liverpool will come good at some point, and that'll be the pressure on Newcastle. But as it stands right now, you've got to say defensively, certainly they can hold on. They do need some goals. I think they need, I mean, let's be honest, it's 2 successive goalless draws now, so as good a result it is, that's 2 games without scoring a goal. So that is where the problems lie. But, you know, because everybody else beneath them is struggling to convince, they've got a chance. But there's a long time to go. There's 5 months to go. We're not even at the halfway stage yet. So Newcastle have built a really good foundation, and they're very good defensively. And that is the bedrock of all successful teams. But they do need to find somebody to score more goals.
Scoring goals wasn't a problem for Manchester United today. Go on, Frank.
Yeah, I think we Craig just said that he has to say that the back four with Pop, played very well today with Newcastle. But I think they showed to the world today, or the world was watching the game, that in fact they really work as a team. Because the four at front, Joelinton, Wilson, Almiron, and I forgot the other one, Willock, sorry, worked all together, especially defensively. And as they wanted a result, they got it. They got it because they worked so hard together. Yes, Arsenal could have scored, but you have to emphasize the fact that most of the time, because when you have a clean sheet, and it's been the 10th for Newcastle this season, it's because of the back four and the goalkeeper. No, it's not. It's a teamwork, and Newcastle is showing to the world that they can be very strong away from home, and you have to respect them, because what Eddie Howe is doing with the team can say that in the future they can finish in the first four because they are working together, and as long as you don't lose a game, you have always a chance to win it, and it's what's going to happen to them for sure.